Timmy and the Secret Door. As you close your eyes, I'm going to tell you a story about a boy called Timmy. So with your eyes closed, you can listen to me reading this story. And while I read this story, you can begin to feel relaxed. And as I read, you can imagine this story and begin to drift off to sleep. As you drift off asleep, you can continue this story in a dream. And my reading will help you feel sleepy. It will help you feel tired. And it will help you fall asleep. Timmy had black, scruffy hair and bright blue eyes. He loved carrots and ate carrots with every meal. This made his skin look slightly orange and made him able to see in the dark better than other children. Timmy lived in an old house where all the walls were covered in wooden panels. One day, while Timmy was in his bedroom playing Teddy Can Fly, Teddy flew into the wall. When Timmy went to get Teddy, he noticed that the wooden panel Teddy had bounced off of was loose. Timmy picked up Teddy and took a closer look at the panel. Timmy noticed that the panel was in fact a secret door. He slowly and carefully opened the door to reveal a secret tunnel. Timmy held on to Teddy's hand and walked slowly into the tunnel. It was dark in the tunnel. Once Timmy was in the tunnel, he stood still for a moment to let his eyes adjust to the dark. He was glad he had eaten all his carrots. Once he could see better in the dark, Timmy began walking with Teddy along a path behind the wall. Timmy felt excited as he walked deeper into the tunnel. After a few minutes, he discovered some stairs. He decided to walk down the stairs slowly. He could see that there were 10 steps, so he walked down, counting how many steps were left as he went. 10. Timmy stepped on the top step. 9. 8. Timmy walked down the stairs slowly. 7. 6. 5. Timmy could see that he was halfway down the stairs. 4. 3. 2. Timmy wondered what was at the bottom of the stairs. 1. Timmy stepped off the bottom step and found himself in a secret room. The secret room had a faint glow to it. The light was coming from a small hole on the far side of the room. Timmy walked over to the hole and put his eye to it in order to see what he could see. As he put his eye to the hole, Timmy noticed it was a secret spy hole which allowed him to see outside the front of his house. He could see what was going on in the street. Timmy watched. Cars drove past. Children played. And adults talked to each other. This is exciting, thought Timmy. He felt like a spy on a secret mission. Timmy wondered what his secret mission was. And would he be brave enough as a spy to complete his mission? Timmy looked around and noticed his sister, Mary, outside. She was playing in a sandpit in the front garden. He wondered whether his mission could be to do with his sister. Timmy watched Mary playing. He could see that she was playing with a doll and a tea set. It looked like they were having a tea party at the seaside. It couldn't be them he was supposed to spy on. He could see his next door neighbour, Mrs. Oppletop. He wondered if maybe it was her he should be spying on. Mrs. Oppletop was carrying a cage with a sad-looking cat in it out to her car. Maybe she's trying to kidnap the cat and I need to rescue it, thought Timmy. He wondered how he would find out. He could see through the spy hole, but didn't know how he could find out why Mrs. Oppletop had the cat in a cage. Why had she put that cat in the car? He had to look for clues. Timmy watched as Mrs. Oppletop walked back to her house. Timmy went back to his room to put on his disguise. He wore his dad's baseball cap, his mum's big round sunglasses. He knew he wouldn't be recognised now. Timmy then went out into the front garden and hid behind the hedge. He had to know why the cat was in the cage and whether it needed rescuing. He looked around, trying to find a way of getting closer to the car. Mrs. Oppletop had left the car door open when she'd gone back inside her house. Maybe he could sneak over to the car and take a look. Timmy started to edge closer. He crept through the hedge slowly, getting deeper and deeper absorbed in his role as a spy. He found being a spy exciting. Just when Timmy was about to reach the car, he saw Mrs. Oppletop coming back out of her house. Timmy quickly hid behind a big tree that stood in his front garden. He saw his mum coming out of his house and heading towards Mrs. Oppletop. "Hello, Mrs. Oppletop," his mum said. "Are you off anywhere nice?" "Just going away for a few days. You know how it is. Sometimes you want to just take some time to relax." Take some time to relax, Timmy thought to himself. Why does Mrs. Oppletop want to take some time to relax? All Timmy ever saw Mrs. Oppletop doing was lying in her back garden, wearing a big floppy hat, covered head to toe in thick white sun cream, and dressed in an old-fashioned yellow and pink swimming suit. Timmy was getting more curious by the minute. He had to listen for more information. His mum was making a good spy's assistant. She was asking Mrs. Oppletop all the questions he couldn't ask without revealing himself. She found out that Mrs. Oppletop was heading to the seaside for a few days, but had to stop off at someone called Yvette's on the way. Timmy wondered why she was taking a caged cat with her to the seaside. Cats don't like water, Timmy said to himself. His mum didn't seem to be too bothered. He couldn't understand why. Timmy thought maybe his mum hadn't seen the cat in the cage, so she didn't know Mrs. Oppletop was kidnapping the cat. If only he could make his mum aware, then she would do something about it. As a spy, Timmy felt he had to let his mum know what he'd found out. Timmy's mum had gone back inside the house. The spy quietly and sneakily followed, trying not to be seen by Mrs. Oppletop, who was still outside the front of her house. Once inside, Timmy went over to his mum and told her what he knew about the cat and the kidnapping, and that he had heard her and Mrs. Oppletop talking about going away for a few days and seeing Yvette first. He explained he thought that maybe Yvette was going to help to kidnap the cat. Timmy's mum explained that Mrs. Oppletop was going on holiday for a few days, but her cat, Sparkles, had been feeling poorly. The vet had asked her to bring him in for a few days to check that he was okay. Timmy hoped that Sparkles was going to be all right. He was glad that Mrs. Oppletop wasn't kidnapping Sparkles, but he did still think that it was odd she needed to go on holiday and relax. After a few days, Mrs. Oppletop returned home. Timmy saw her arrive and could see that Sparkles was looking much happier. He was rubbing himself against the cage as if he wanted to be let out. Mrs. Oppletop got the cage out of the car and opened it. Sparkles ran out and started to roll around on the grass in the front garden. Timmy went out to ask Mrs. Oppletop if he could play with Sparkles. She let him, and they played from tea time right through to bedtime. Timmy slept well that night, dreaming of more adventures as a spy with Teddy.